And Richard Banks, who we're going to hear from shortly, is actually the first time three-peat guest we've ever had. I know. It's pretty exciting if you look at it from this way. I've looked up to this gentleman for a while as who he is as an explorer, as a person. I've really been grateful to get a chance to know you as a friend. So to have him back multiple times, I'm honored. So thank you for being here again. If it excites you and scares you at the same time, it probably means you should do it. I was looking for the perfect quote for our first guest tonight, who's pretty much done it all. When I use the word travel legend for not many people, but this gentleman definitely is a travel legend. He has over 30 First River ascents. He is descents. You're a legend. He's such a legend, he goes the other way. Exactly. Descents. He's one of the original co-founders of the original travel company, Mountain Travel Sobek, now MT Sobek. He's an award-winning author, filmmaker, TV host, and was also on the founding team of Expedia. Thank you, John. Thank you for being here. You kind of get why I get excited for this guy, right? I mean, true legend. As I mentioned, you've been a guest a couple times, and every time I would look at your old footage, I got so excited. Share with everyone how you first got into this, because again, the river rafting, all that was kind of your bread and butter to start. So how did you get into that?
Yeah. Well, it was just a passion, and I think that's why everybody's here. I was a river enthusiast when I was in high school, and when I got to college, I somehow, through some not particularly upright ways, landed a job as a river guide in the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon when I was 19. And so I did that, and it was a transformational experience. It showcased the world in a way I'd never imagined before, and met extraordinary people along the way. And I thought, well, this is amazing. Could I take this overseas? So in my early 20s, with some friends, I organized some expeditions to Africa. And we took over some boats. We had no money, but we got sponsors, and we went over and we ran the first descents of a host of rivers, a raft of rivers, throughout Africa. And it was just meant to be a last Yahoo before getting serious about
before
life.
You were going to find a job or something.
Exactly.
What were you going to do?
Well, I was in law school, so God forbid.
Got it, I know. Dad, no offense. But what I want to ask you is, because it's interesting is we look at it's like the first descents, all these times.
Yeah.
When you guys were doing it, were you actually thinking nobody else will ever do this? And we look at this video and to think about the stuff you guys did and the career you had, it's like it will never be like this.
I don't think anybody has that consciousness at the moment when they're doing this.
You're having fun.
It's sort of by default a Zen experience.
Yeah.
You are there, you're experiencing it, you're in it, and you don't look forward or backward. You are in the presence, and it was an extraordinary moment in time, and I think that there is a desire to sort of recapture that once you've been there in that zone, and I think most of my career has been sort of trying to recapture those moments, the sort of Zen-like quality of being totally present when you're traveling. And travel enhances and allows that, I think, in ways that other activities don't.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, and that's what I call this travel with meaning moment. I think it's really going to leave you moved, touched, or inspired, and I hear that from you a lot. That's that Zen moment. And there's that one part in the clip when you say, God, we had fun, and you could just feel the excitement in your voice and look at that video and see you guys in your early years with no idea of anything, but you're having fun to here you are now. And where is this trip?
That's the first descent of the Awash River in Ethiopia.
Where is it? Ethiopia.
Awash River in Ethiopia. Spectacular river. And I don't know that it's ever been done since, at least this section of it. So.
Do you still go rafting?
I do. I've done quite a few raft trips. I continue to. In fact, I'm doing a first descent in Siberia this coming summer.
Siberia? When's the last time you did a first descent?
Oh, it's been a while since a first descent.
Wow. And what number is this going to be?
I don't know. I mean, the company itself has done about 200 first descents.
Yeah, but I get the company, but
yeah.
He's doing a Siberia one.
in
Is that when you're taking people with you?
Yeah.
Okay, and I would love to go. When are we going?
Let's have the whole Travel Tales group come.
Travel Tales is actually a different show.
Yeah, sure. We'll get you off your stuff.
Dave, you want to go? All right, we're going. Mom, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Well, and you'd mentioned the company, so let's talk about that for a second, because I want to put this up as well. Is that the company, Mountain Travel Sobek, which just actually reintroduced themselves as MT Sobek.
Yes.
And next year, 2019, you're going to be celebrating 50 years.
This is our 50th anniversary catalog. Yeah.
So, we like to say that, yeah, I think it's a big deal. Exactly. And I truly believe it's a big deal for a lot of reasons. I say the original venture company, they really are. And you can hear the stories that you were doing. You started with your friends just going down rivers and doing this, and you turned it into your business.
Yep. Yeah, exactly that. It's pursuing your passion.
Pursuing your passion.
Yeah.
So anyone who's kind of got something they're doing now as an entrepreneur or anything, basically don't stop.
Don't stop.
You hear that? Just don't stop. Okay, great.
It does work out.
MT Sobek, how many trips you guys do? I know we're passing around the catalog. It's kind of like there's a lot of stuff in there. What are some of the trips that you like? You're taking people on Siberia. What other trips do you do with people?
Well, we take trips almost everywhere. So,
but you also take people. You're leading a couple.
Occasionally, I'll take usually friends and such. I'm doing trips to the Sudan this year and Kurdistan and the Silk Road through Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. So yeah, and also doing a trip flying with a friend of mine, Paul Moritz, from Microsoft, from South Africa all the way the length north to Cyprus.
Wow.
So that'll be a month-long trip. Yeah.
So I want to jump into some of that stuff in a second here, but you're somebody who really has seen it all on a lot of levels and experienced a lot of things. Well, I know because you're like, but there's always stuff you still want to do. So what? There's
always stuff you still want to do.
What is the thing that you're like, oh, I really, really want to still do this?
Well, I think you touched on something, which is the sort of the paradox of travel, and that's that the more you see, the more you recognize you have really yet to see, and you can get so granular on any particular destination. So everything is sort of a quest for wonder, I think, and it depends on you to some degree as to how you can nurture, pursue, and develop and incorporate wonder. It can be. You can certainly travel blithely and not assimilate what you see anywhere, or you can be a conscious traveler and then be amazed at so many different things on a granular level and on a grand level. There's so many things to
narrow that down.
Be amazed by.
Narrow that down. Where's that place then?
No, that place is a personal space.
Okay.
It's really developing an insatiable sense of curiosity. And if you have that, and some people don't, what they say, but 70% of people don't have passports. But if you do have a sense of curiosity, then it becomes a very, I think, purposeful and satisfying sense of movement forward, to where you can begin to have a glimmer of the interconnectedness of all things, and things start to make sense. And a lot of these walls that we're dealing with now of prejudice and bigotry and all that sort of thing, and misunderstanding, they start to dissipate when you travel and you understand how we are all on the same ship sailing to the same destination. So.
Well said. Well said. I think, and I've shared this with a lot of people, as opposed to, reading something online or watching some program, go and meet the people. Go and have that experience firsthand and create your own experience as opposed to judgment for someone or a place you've never been.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm curious, because I almost find it ironic that, tell me your first name again?
Me?
Yeah. Marsha. So you sat next to Marsha, who hasn't been anywhere in 2 years.
No. Marsha's.
Oh, I apologize. But 2 years. But 2 years you hadn't been anywhere, right? So.
No, not Marsha.
Oh.
Mexico and Canada, but I don't think they.
Moving on, then apparently I screwed up that whole conversation. I got excited. Well, let's go. I know, this guy, I screwed that one up. I got excited for that moment. I thought you had, but okay. Well, let's do this, because what I also wanted to bring up is, we could talk about your travel stuff and Sobek, I'm passing around that catalog. The one thing also, and you just mentioned, Microsoft, and you are also, on the founding team of Expedia, and you've had a lot of really great success outside of the travel industry too, whether it's an early adapter on the line, and now you're part of this company called Stellar. And
Yes.
I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to create that through line of you picking these winners in the tech space, and you also knowing that the relationships within travel.
Yeah. Yep.
Why is this one so important?
Well, it's interesting. I was 9 years at Microsoft, where we incubated and created Expedia. And then one of my colleagues, who was one of the senior executives at Microsoft, was a passionate photographer, traveler, and storyteller. And he retired, early Microsoft, so he retired very well. And he decided to sort of put together the pieces of his passions and created this online platform called Stellar. And it was really created as a personal project for friends and family and for himself to express himself, a place to tell stories about travel. He turned around, he never spent a dime trying to promote it or anything. He turned around and it had 2 million users and people posting stories from all over the world. So some friends of mine and I put together a group and we purchased Stellar just last August. And we thought this is really a beautiful inspiration piece that that allows us to be able to look at almost any place on the planet. It's hard to search Stellar and find a place that isn't covered at this point, and see if we can grow it and make it more meaningful. So so the first thing we did when we purchased it in August was create a contest. With a $29,000 prize of a trip for two to Tahiti at the Brando Resort.
Sounds great to me.
With Adidas giving away a lot of gear and stuff like that. So Adidas
Wait, first, show of hands, who knows Stellar?
Go ahead. Pass it
All
around.
right,
Yeah.
awesome.
So it's an app. So you download the app and you can tell stories on the fly as you're traveling. It's a little bit like Instagram, but the idea it's focused entirely on travel.
Right, and I wanted, again, to introduce it for two reasons. One, I use the platform. I think it makes storytelling interesting and easy, especially for the travel sake. But I also really wanted to bring it up from your lens because looking at your track record, I'd say this is something you kind of want to know about early. If Richard Banks is involved, he's kind of got a good track record for this conversation. I want to switch gears because we're gonna show one of your stellar stories.
Well, let me close this thing out a little bit.
Like it.
So this sorry.
No, you're good.
Before you move.
No, we're good.
So that's exactly what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
So this $29,000 trip, and I'm one of the judges. So
He's a judge for
I'm a
this
judge,
contest.
so you can buy me a drink.
So make the check out. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But this contest with the Tahiti prize ends a week from today.
Oh, it's Halloween.
And then we're going to announce it at the Outdoor Retailer Show in Denver on November 6th. At the same time, we're announcing, here's a prequel, the next contest, which is done with CREST, which is the Center for Responsible Travel.
I'm going to show that in a minute.
Okay, you're going to show that. And the Bodhi Surf and Yoga Resort in Costa Rica. So the next stellar contest will be to create a story about meaningful travel, and Crest and I will be the judges, and the winner will have a trip for two with air, etc. Air is always included to the Bodhi Resort in Costa Rica. So
Sounds wonderful. So you have 1 week.
that's unannounced at this point.
Do you want-
So, yeah.
So do you want to tell them really quickly what people need to do to enter?
So I passed around cards. If everybody got one, all you have to do is download the app and then enter a series of photos with a little story. It takes about 10 minutes.
It's all photos, not video.
It's video too.
It's video content. You can do story.
It's video, stories, text.
I highly recommend just looking at it.
Judge differently if there's only photos and not videos.
Not really. You know, I've actually been waiting. There are about 1,000 entries so far. So the last few days, I've been going through them and trying to curate them and figure out. So I've moved about 29 that I think are finalists so far.
Do you get
Into it.
points if Mike Scheibel's in the pictures?
Yes. Yes.
I was going to say, is anyone in the room in
Right.
that 29? Wink.
Yeah. So I'm putting a point value to it. So far, there isn't a single Mike Scheibel photo.
Well, obviously
So-
none of those are good.
That's an extra 10 points if he's in it. So,
You hear that, Mom?
yeah.
All right. What I wanted to say, first off, Stellar, we'll come back to Stellar because I wanted to also say, you recently got back from Lebanon.
Yes.
And we're going to show your Stellar story. What I will say is we're going to talk about it before we get into this because I want you to share about the whole experience. I will highly encourage you to check out the app as a way to really look at the content. As you saw already from our slight technical difficulties, this is going to be a great way. We're going to show the Stellar story that Richard created, but I want you to share really quickly before we get into that. We hear, as Americans, what our judgment of Lebanon is.
Yes.
Had you been before, and what was your experience? And what?
No, it was my first trip to
Okay.
Lebanon, and Lebanon was really inaccessible for a long period of time. There was a civil war from 1975 until 1990 for 15 years, and it was the most dangerous place on the planet. Since 90, which is a long period now, it's been on the road to recovery, but it's certainly not been a destination that people thought about as top of mind or must see or bucket. It is a refuge for refugees. So with all the issues in Syria, there are hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees in Lebanon, and it's also where many of the Palestinians have also found refuge. So a lot of refugee camps on the southern border with Israel, and it's also the center for Hezbollah. So it's been a troubled place, but it's just recently sort of opened itself up, opened its arms. It used to be the Paris of the Middle East, and it's hoping to sort of recapture that flavor and essence. And so I took a group there, and it's an extraordinary destination. I mean, it's very mountainous. It's the only Middle Eastern country that has no desert. It's almost all mountainous, and it is spectacular. So,
How long are you there for?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
But you tend to do that. I mean, you've been to North Korea, you've been Iran last year.
Yep.
So you tend to go to the
Saudi Arabia,
the off the beaten path type places. So again, I want to mention your Stellar story with this because we're going to show you one aspect of it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Hezbollah, and I know in your Stellar stories you have some interesting stuff about like the Hezbollah Museum
Right.
and a lot of really in-depth things. So I would highly encourage you guys to check out Stellar, not because of that, but just also to check out his stories from that. It's just a great way to, follow along with what your experience was in Lebanon.
Yeah.
Tell us about CREST.
Okay, the CREST is the Center for Responsible Travel, based out of
I got it,
Washington, D.C., and I'm on the board of CREST, and it is an advocacy and informational group that publishes papers and tries to influence organizations, outfitters, tourist boards, and travelers to travel responsibly, and to travel with meaning. A couple of weeks ago was the UN World Tourism Day, and I was one of the speakers in DC where we presented a paper on over-tourism, which is an issue in several parts of the world. So this is just a little video that CREST has created to sort of talk about its mission. So it's like a 1 minute, 2 minute video or something. But
And you mentioned, a sneak peek that the next Stellar partnership is actually going to be with CREST.
yes, the next contest. Yeah.
And so I would imagine, sustainability, traveling responsibly is something that's really important to you.
Yes, yes. The contest is going to ask for people to submit stories on positive impact travel, which I think is a broader berth, and then we'll see what comes out of it.
What do you think of the state of travel right now with the whole influx of social media and the travel influencer and stuff? What do you think about that?
That's a complex and grand question. I don't think I can filter it down to a sort of a simple answer. I think fundamentally travel is a very good thing, and I think it's not only sort of an innate human urge and desire that shouldn't be quelled, because when it is quelled, I think there's some sort of toxicity that is created within. But the converse is that when you travel, it opens up your mind and doors and promotes connectivity and understanding and all sorts of things. So I'm a huge advocate, as you, of travel. I think the benefits far outweigh the alternative. I mean, if you're referencing social media and how it has impacted certain destinations, there are all these hot zones where social media has sort of revealed secrets or promoted destinations in a way that has given them hyper attention. So places like Venice and Barcelona and Dubrovnik and such are suffering because they've had too much love. But I'm optimistic. I think A, it's better to travel to these places than not, and B, I think it's all about management, and that there are ways to either flatten out or restrict or divert these places and get people to go to alternatives. Machu Picchu is a good one. The Inca Trail is overused, but there are now 7 alternative trails to get to Machu Picchu. Just as good, and you know that's been a solution, I think. So,
Now, I've asked you this question before, but I want to ask because obviously I think it could change from time to time after journeys and whatnot. But what does travel mean to you?
it'd be fun to sort of distill all of your answers and see if they
That's
come
what
up.
I'm doing. I'm putting together
Yeah.
this great montage of all your answers.
Yeah, all the answers. You know, travel is momentum, so it's leaning forward, and you can't help but evolve. I think when you take a step in any direction, it changes you, and I think it changes you in a very positive way. So, what does it mean? I think it means, discovery and meaning and satisfaction and identity and hopefully more fulfillment in your own life and and to those you touch.
Nice, thank you. Before we open this up to questions, where are you off to next?
Outdoor retailer.
Outdoor retailer. Okay, great. All right, and I'm on your boat for the Siberia trip next year, so that's exciting.